Alright, hello everyone. So, I wanted to take a crack at the respirator because the one on the market that I've seen, it uses a specialty copper filament, and that's really good because it's antimicrobial, but it's high speciality and it's very expensive, and you kind of have to upgrade your printer to be able to print it. So it's a very specialty filament. And I looked online for all the designs that, have been shared across all social medias, and I wasn't able to find it anywhere. I was looking in forums and everything. So I figured I would take a crack at the respirator, just to, not as a replacement by any means, but just kind of, help lessen the load. So I had some of these already, just the N95 masks. So I use these as my base, right? Use those for dimensioning, and I was at first playing around with some filters, some mechanical filters. I was testing the limits of my 3D printer. I was printing it at 0.05 millimeters just to see just how small it could get with some consistency, and you can even see how transparent it is. But unfortunately, because it was only one layer thick, the heated bed always kind of fused it together. And I'm using PETG, so it had to be a heated bed. It couldn't just be PLA. So I took those mechanical filters and I was like, okay, and time to try out a respirator. So I have this one right here, and you might be able to tell I have some mechanical filters, these linear filters, and then this kind of radial pattern, but this is obviously way too big. So I decided to cut that down a little bit, right? Shrink it down, and then kind of messed up on sticking to the bed because I had an offset surface, but that's besides the point. And so I went through iteration after iteration, trying to, best model as much as I could for a mechanical filter. I went through a couple designs of snapping on pieces. I went through different types. And again, PETG isn't the most flexible. So anytime I tried to pop it on, it would just crack. So eventually it led me into this model right here. And essentially, instead of it clicking on or popping onto it, it's inserted and then slid to the side. Now this one I broke during one of the trials, so that's why this is busted. But that kind of idea carried over. In fact, I have one right here. So again, this is all PETG, but essentially it would clip over like that. Now the reason for this is because the design I wanted to make was to be as commonplace as possible, use everyday materials. So this is a quarter of a coffee filter, so you can cut a regular coffee filter into quarters. If you cover this up, this creates kind of a seal. So now you have a replaceable, really small filter. Now a coffee filter only goes up to 20 microns, or filters 20 microns, and a Viron is way, way, way smaller than that. But it does stop transmission of water particles, or really any kind of particulate. So all that to say, if someone was to sneeze on this, it should stop all of those sneeze particles. I tested it with kind of a spray mister to see just how much, and I had a tissue on the inside of here that should pick up any kind of moisture. And so far, it's worked out really, really well. Now, the problem with it, and I also came up with a couple of iterations on the sidelines, the problem with it is very, very hard, and so because it's rigid, it did fit the face pretty well. I have it cut up for the nose and everything, but if you tried to talk in this, it just hurt, because as your mouth tried to move, it would press up against these seals, and I tried to round it out as much as possible without too much luck. So luckily, I had just enough filament to do a flexible version like this. All right, so now I also cut out just a tiny bit of foam, and I got this foam, or I've had this foam really. It's just sticky backed or adhesive backed foam, just craft sheets, and you should be able to get these really, really easy too, and one sheet goes a long way. But same iteration, same instance, take a coffee filter and replace them as needed. Place it over, and if you want to cut it to shape, you can do that. I find it's just kind of easiest to roll it under. But now it has mechanical filters, both linear and radial internally. You can tie on any kind of rubber band that you want. If you want to add more foam to the sides or just on this nose piece, you can do so. and it's completely flexible up to a certain degree, so it should be able to conform to any basic face shape, right? Adult face shape. So this is the latest iteration. I'll let y'all know if, I have any updates. I've ordered more flexible filament, but hopefully that comes in kind of soon, but all the orders are taking a little while, naturally so. All right, so here's the N5, and here's my iteration of it. So I'll be putting this up so that anyone can download it. I haven't tested it in terms of I haven't sent it out to medical professionals to test it just yet. I've just done my own at-home research and tests. It seems like comparatively these do a pretty similar job. Again, this doesn't create a perfect seal, and neither does this one. But if someone sneezes in your face, it's better to have this than nothing at all. So hopefully you take the model, and I'll open source it. I'll leave all the files. So if you guys have any iterations that you want to try and modify to it, feel free to do so. All right, thanks.